Players on the pitch. Lining up. Welcome, one and all, to Kingston Heath Soccer Complex here in Melbourne's southeast. It's the site of many a famous moment in Australia, in the Australia's Cup history, perhaps none more so than when its local residents knocked off the Wellington Phoenix back in 2008 to claim their maiden and as yet only A-League men scalp. But tonight, the hosts, Bentleigh Greens, will look to write another chapter in their very proud history in Australia's premier knockout competition, seeking to once again advance through to the national stages and reassert themselves as Australia's NPL Cup specialists. However, standing in their way is Banyule City, an ambitious state league side where linear progression would suggest that they would be a chance tonight, knocking over state league sides in their first two games, then an NPL 3 side in Box Hill, then an NPL 2 side in the Goulburn Valley Suns, and now an NPL 1 side awaits in the form of the Bentleigh Greens. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, wherever you happen to be tuning in from, be it here in Victoria, around Australia, or indeed around the world. My name is Joey Lynch to take you through all the action. It is my absolute pleasure to be joined on the call by Damir Kulash, local expert, encyclopedia of local football here in Victoria. Damir, great to be alongside you. Should be a good one tonight, we're hoping.
Likewise, Joey, and thank you for the warm welcome. It certainly is, particularly at a ground that, as you said, is synonymous with this competition and its 8-year history. Of course, this year we've got the rebranding, but the Bentleigh Greens have been one of the most successful, or definitely the most successful NPL team in this competition, and have hosted 5 different A-League teams here at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex.
As the game kicks off underway, with the visitors getting us going, Banyule wearing their away kits, white shirt with maroon shorts. They will be kicking from left to right of your screen in this opening stanza, and it is the Bentleigh Greens in their familiar all-green kit, all green for the Bentleigh Greens. Who would have thought, kicking from right to left of your screen. For the teams, as we see Ken Krilicki getting an early touch for the hosts, starting in goal is number 1, Pierce Clark. In front of him, Ben Carrigan, Jack Webster, Corey Sewell, Pierce Waring, Mitch Hoare, Danny Kim, Thomas Strickland, Ken Krilicki, Jack Painter-Andrews, and Yagub Mustafa. For the visitors, starting in goal, Daniel Collison, and then in front of him, Stefan Franceskakis, Ethan Gage, Izzy Muhammad, Tom Danieli, Lars Anton Kaninda, Roberto Stella, Fabian Alstrand, Luke Okuda, Ryan Kirkus and Harris Vujkic. So a state league side, Banyule City, Damir, but some familiar names for NPL observers in there.
Yes, most definitely, Joey. And even when you look at their bench, they've got Dominic Barber, who, of course, we know from NPL Victoria, having coached the likes of Bulleen Lions and Port Melbourne Sharks in the top flight. His first game in charge of Bulleen in the top flight was, in fact, at this ground, where they put up a pretty resolute effort to lose only 1-0 to pretty star-studded Bentleigh Greens team from an NPL standpoint, and that set the tone for a pretty successful season for the Lions, in which they managed to consolidate their status in Victoria's top flight. So Don Barber, definitely plenty of experience at this ground, and there's a few players in that Banyule team that have played either at the NPL level or against the Greens before, who will be fancying their chances tonight to cause a cup set.
The game, that was one thing that he had his eyes on.
Yeah, and for Nick Tolios, league-wise, they've had a mixed season. Not the worst season, but definitely they've had a few challenges, particularly from an injury standpoint up front. They've had a lot of changes, and they'll be looking at the Cup to, I guess, provide a springboard to a good end to the season as well for them, where they can really shore up a top 6 berth and also challenge come finals time.
Well, a win over the Melbourne Knights on Friday night, keeping Bentleigh Greens in the top 6, currently 6th in the men's top flight.
I did see the goal credited to George Lambidoritis, but I think with those, it's an own goal, given the fact that it did hit the post and then come back off Thomas Manos in Knight's goal. But George Lambidoritis, a very credentialed midfielder at the heart of the Greens midfield.
Not on the team sheet tonight, though.
Yeah.
So they'll
notice that.
Yeah, so they'll have to make do without him, the Greens.
But look, still plenty of experience, particularly in that midfield. I mean, Danny Kim is no stranger to this competition as well, having been on the books of Hume City when they also made a national round run. Of course, he came back to Victoria from his home state of Queensland, where he was previously playing for Olympic FC.
And had a stint with the Brisbane Roar as well during the hub-based run home of.
Correct. I was just about to ask you whether it was during the hub, and it'll be interesting to see if there's an A-League opportunity for him in the near future,
or potentially a national second division one.
That is right too. And Thomas Strickland is definitely one player in the Greens starting 11 that's had a good season to date. It'll be interesting to see if he can keep it up tonight.
Well, here's Kim on the ball now, sending it back to Ben Carrigan, and then he'll play it across to his captain, Jack Webster. Mr. Bentleigh Greens, Jack Webster. Cross field to Mustafa. But he's going to lose the ball under pressure from Banyule. Greens can retain possession, recycle, and look to come again now. Krilicki and Webster knocking it about between each other. Webster, the play in front of him. Trying to find an opening. We talked about well-organised Don Barber sides, Demir, and there you go. Banyule's shape frustrating the Bentleigh Greens, who will retain possession but can't find a way through.
Yeah, Banyule's defence will definitely have to be solid throughout the 90 if they want to give themselves any chance of surviving attacking onslaughts from the Greens that you expect to see throughout the course of the game. But having said that, they'd also look to pounce on the break and compose some well-worked moves of their own, as Mustafa is called for offside.
Yagub Mustafa would be a familiar name for any viewers tuning in from Western Australia. Formerly of Perth Soccer Club, and also a bit of a stint with the Perth Glory. One of an increasing number of NPL WA players making their way to Victoria. The pipeline used to be NPL Queensland to NPL Victoria, which, to be fair, it still is. Still see a healthy amount of players making their way down from the Sunshine State, but increasingly joined by those from across the Nullarbor now. As one of those aforementioned Queenslanders, Kim knocks it to a West Australian and Mustafa. Corey Sewell, another Queenslander. Spent some time back in his home state during the pandemic-affected seasons, but now patrolling the midfield for the Greens as this ball just trying to slide it in behind the lines for Jack Painter-Andrews, but Banyule will put it out for a corner. Ken Kralicki to take. Some big bodies in there for Banyule, Demir, the likes of Ethan Gage and Lars Anton Kaninda.
Ethan Gage, no stranger to these quarters.
As the ball is whipped in towards the top of the box, Sewell heads it back in the right direction. Webster dinks it back across. Waring was going for it. Danger's not cleared. Hall tried to keep things going. Banyule just knock it loose, but only as far as Jack Painter-Andrews. High crossfield ball. Webster stayed up. Mustafa in the middle of the park. Dynamics of the game as we enter the 8th minute, perhaps beginning to resemble what we would have expected, the NPL 1 side with large amounts of the ball. The State League side sitting back, hoping to perhaps catch their foes in transition whilst staying compact and well organised in their defensive block. Turnover, much to the disgust of Pierce Clark in the Bentleigh Greens goal, but his team get the ball back before he has any need to retreat from his perch at the edge of the Greens penalty area.
Yeah, Pierce Clark, one of many Bentleigh Greens players that you'd assume still has professional aspirations and who would be hoping that a deep run in the national stages of this competition will attract interest.
Mustafa round Daniele. Mustafa still going. Runs into a bit of a cul-de-sac with a teammate. Sewell whips it in and it wouldn't have counted. Mitch Hoare couldn't direct his header towards goal, even if he had been in an offside position.
I believe the referee tonight is Ross Clark, who, if memory serves me correct, is a big Hearts fan. So,
H-E-A-R-T-S. What's that spell? Hearts, Hearts, glorious Hearts. As we see the Greens coming again. Trying to swarm and keep Banyule back in their penalty area. Gage twisting and turning, trying to find a teammate. She gets it Daniele on the right. He'll whip a ball forward, potentially in the direction of Kaninda, but it's going to sail over his head. Not the easiest task in the world, looking at the size of him, but Clark collects.
Apologies in advance if I've done a Roman Roy and miscredited him as a Hearts fan when in fact he's a Hibernian fan, but I'm fairly confident it is Hearts. He would have obviously been an interested observer in this morning's game, not just for the Socceroos progression, but I guess with Atkinson and Royals playing.
There's Clark. Had to make the decision, should he stay or should he go, and did hesitate initially, but made the call in time.
If you recall, he did have that, I guess, bit of a gaff against Oakley. I believe it was last month where he came out.
Indeed it was. That goal giving the Cannons a 1-0 win. And Sewell puts that one into touch. Tom Daniele falling his hands on the right flank. Whoa. What's the go here? Play on? Let's play on.
That's an indirect free kick.
Indirect. You've done your referee badges, Demir. Explain what the rule is there and what happens.
Well, I mean, what I think happened, and I stand to be corrected on this one, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's one of those instances where both the referee and the linesman may not have had their eyes on the thrower as he's taken a throw in and have missed a potential foul throw, if it was a foul throw. And then if that's the case, then another player needs to touch the ball before Daniele touches it again.
As here come the Greens. Shot comes in, just crashes. Well, off the frame, supporting the goals from Ken Kralicki. As Banyule just knock it forward, looking for a bit of territory.
For those that caught that on the audio, that's Green's technical director, Frank McGrellis, and a legend of Victorian football circles, particularly at this level.
Sewell boots the ball high and long. Chase is on. Vujkic gets there first and just knocks the ball over his head. Out for Bentleigh Green's throw-in.
I forgot to ask you, Joey, predictions for the game tonight?
I think what would have to be any time you get an NPL 1 side against a State League side. I know the magic of the Cup is something we like to encourage, and would be fantastic to see a State League side make it through to the national stages from Victoria for what would be the first time. Has never happened, I don't think.
Second time. South Springvale.
South Springvale, of course. Did they beat an NPL 1 side on their way to the national stages?
It's a very good question. I do know that I think they must have. I'll get that one checked for you, but I do remember in the Doherty Cup in that semi-final that year, they beat St Albans, who were a fellow national round of 32 participant who actually made it to the round 16 themselves following a 1-0 win away from home at Parramatta FC. South Springvale's journey to the quarterfinals of that, or round 16 of that competition. Just 1 second as we stay with play.
And Steady Kim on the ball, plays it back to Corey Sewell. Knocking the ball around, either Greens. But Banyule, you can see 11 men behind the ball, deep in their own half. So it's going to take some moment of individual brilliance and or inspiration from one of these players in green to find a way through. Paul gets it to Danny Kim, trying to just slide it across. Muhammad gets in the way. Carrigan has all the time in the world to send it back to Sewell.
Going back to that FA Cup run in 2014 for South Springvale, they beat South Cardiff of the New South Wales and Northern New South Wales NPL at this ground in a penalty shootout of 4-3 before losing to the Palm Beach Sharks 1-0 at Robina Park on the Gold Coast. Of course, the Palm Beach Sharks, I believe, are a club that no longer exists. So, South Springvale, if you're going to see one team in the FA Cup round of 32 or national stage, Australia Cup that is, round of 32 anytime soon, it'll probably be them.
As we see the Greens yet more poking and prodding around the edges. Danny Kim. He's just trying to slide it across for Strickland on his left. Banyule aware of the danger. Clear it away, but just this metronomic knocking against the Banyule defence. Already in these opening stages, it's really been basically, we don't have possession stats on hand, Demir, but one would imagine it's massively in favour of the Bentleigh Greens, the territory battle as well.
As expected, and as they look to go forward here on the left with Mustafa, but just in general, it wouldn't surprise me if over the course of this next few years that we do see State League teams from Victoria in the Australia Cup national stage as we stick with play.
Mustafa does well to control the ball, but Banyule pokes it clear. Sewell from range. Corey Sewell had it blocked away.
The reason for that, Joey, is that ultimately we've seen a lot of quality players drop down a few tiers into the state leagues. For whatever reason, you know, sometimes it tends to be they want to be playing with ex-teammates and friends, and they want to regain a fun and joy for football that they perhaps lost at an NPL level. They've got, you know, greater commitments from a work standpoint and can't exactly manage the NPL load anymore, so they go down to a more manageable level at the state leagues. And I mean, Bentleigh Greens is probably one club that's been impacted by that, because they did lose Damien Iconis and Will Bowman to Malvern City earlier this season. Malvern City, of course, the home of James Carvelis, a former Northcote City captain as well. So there's definitely a lot of quality down in the state leagues, and it wouldn't surprise me if over the next few years you see clubs, particularly in State League 1, make a concentrated run into the competition that potentially results in a national stage appearance.
Well, we have seen 3 State League sides make their way up to Victoria's round 7 of qualifying, one step away from the national stages. But for now, the Greens well in control. They'll come again. Mustafa finds a shot. Went round 1, went round the 2nd, but that took him away from goal. Forces the Greens to reset, and you can just see Carrigan could have set up a fish and chip shot with the amount of time Banyule was affording him, and there you go again. No appetite to press the back line of the Greens are the visitors. Sewell closed down by Banyule. Waring tries to send it around the corner, falls to Muhammad.
Joey, I've got to ask, as someone that lives down Banyule Way or relatively close by to the club and its surrounding suburbs, do you feel that there is potentially a gap in the market at an NPL level for a club from that region to, I guess, make that step up into the NPL?
Well, I might answer your question after this bit of play. Demir is Pierce Waring, former Melbourne Victory man.
It dipped, but it just dipped a bit too late there.
Yeah. I think there probably is, Demir. I mean, the likes of Bulleen
Manningham
in
United.
that area, and Manningham United around
Heidelberg
that
United's
area.
not too far away.
But around the Eltham, Banyule area, there are, of course, we can see Banyule and Eltham in the state leagues, but probably is scope for an NPL side to emerge in there. I mean, it's close to the Western Ring Road, so pretty easy to get to and recruit players from not around there.
Yeah. And, of course, in previous years, there's been strong State League 1 teams in that region, aside from Banyule City. When you think about the likes of Diamond Valley United and Doncaster Rovers.
My former junior club, Donny Rovers, would love to see them make an NPL run one day. Always been a strong junior club, not quite at the senior level, but now we'll stick with play as Gage sends it across the field, but it's stolen away by Corey Sewell. But before he can just burst forth, he's close down and the ball is put out of play from Fabian Alstrand. Kralicki gets it from Webster and sends it back. Sewell. And the players can retake their position on stage and we can resume the merry dance of Bentleigh trying to break down this well-embedded Banyule block. Trying to get it into space on the right flank is Jack Painter-Andrews, close down, so he'll go back central. Strickland, not sure who he was trying to find there. Couldn't find anybody in the end. Gage, there's a little bit of a pirouette. But that subsequent passing from Banyule is poor. Won't be able to break in transition with that one. Staffer. Close down by Stella, so he'll just go back to Corey Sewell, who sends it to Webster. Now the Banyule just try to spring a bit of a press and force a turnover, but Greens able to play their way through it. Pierce Waring trying to weave and find an angle. Pierce Waring, he got the shot off, but comfortable collection for Daniel Collison.
Collison himself, a goalkeeper with prior experience in the NPL.
Sends this one high and long. Corey Sewell wins out. Mustafa uses his body to win the ball. Past Banyule. And does it a second time, but Banyule right back comes back and creates a bit of a contest and In the end, that allows Allstrand to poke it clear. However, danger not gone, as Krylicki's shot took a touch, so it will be a corner kick.
Yeah, and despite the opportunities that they have had, Bentleigh Greens, they really haven't tested Collison as much as they probably would have liked inside these opening 22 minutes as we venture into the halfway point of this first half.
Now, bodies in the box for Bentleigh. High cross in towards the back peg. Sewell was set a task just to keep it in, one that he ultimately wasn't able to fulfill, so Banyule goal kick.
I guess if you wanted to have an idea of just how aspirational Banyule are in terms of targeting an NPL status in subsequent years, I guess the hiring of Don Barber as a coach is a statement to make to your rivals in State League One that you are serious about getting promoted at some stage and going forward from a league standpoint. Were you surprised when you saw that appointment, or whether you were doing your preparation for this game and saw that Barber's the coach?
Well, not really, because as you said, Dimir, a lot of State League sides are investing in their programs and hoping to start making up the leap through the pyramid. I think it's been very tough coming out of COVID, but some teams are seeing growth opportunities in that, one of them being Banyule, who are going to come forward now. A rare foray forward from the visitors, Banyule. Trying to get some numbers into the box. First, Allstrand's just got to try to find a teammate, which he does. Cross blocked away there by Painter Andrews, but it will result in a set piece. And as we talked about when they were defending a corner earlier, there's some tall bodies in there for Banyule. Demir.
Big opportunity, always with the set pieces when you are a perceived or actual inferior team. Great equaliser is a well-taken set piece.
Sent in, spills out, bit of chaos in the box. Favours the Greens on that occasion as Mustafa comes away with it, and then he's just going to boot the ball forward. If this was hockey, would have been called for icing there, just smashing it forward. But it being football, just allows Banyule to carry it forward. Daniele just shrugs off Mustafa's attempt to impede him.
Hockey, ice hockey, or both?
Ice hockey. I'm not sure about the rules of field hockey, but Canadians have informed me that it's just hockey, not ice hockey.
Apologies, I sort of specified that hockey is the one that I was referring to as field hockey. Of course, with ice hockey, the Stanley Cup playoffs well underway this very moment.
Still waiting for my New York Islanders to come good again as you see Stella send the ball backwards. So Banyule having a bit more of the ball in these last few exchanges. Some space on the left to operate on in front of a few Banyule fans that have made the trip down to the southeast. Trying to get something going. Anton Kaninda is forced to, well, he's playing as a 9, but he had to go out to the wing there to fetch the ball. Keep it alive for his side.
Not meaning this with any malice, but I have noticed quite a lot of Banyule supporters here tonight. They definitely travelled in good numbers, and I'm not sure if they outnumbered the home team, but there's definitely quite a few Bulls beanies on display and supporters who are visibly supporting the away team here.
Well, set away team. Have to defend this one. Danny Kim. Ball out to the right flank. Banyule players converge. Krylicki back to Webster. The Greens in no real rush, no real sense of urgency as of yet. Still a lot of football still to be played. So being patient with their build-up as that ball gets in, and a strong header coming in the end from Mitch Hoare. Over the crossbar.
Do you want to take a stab as to how long Jack Webster has been at Bentleigh for?
Well, I know he's around the 300 game mark for the Greens, so it's in an NPL level. So I imagine it's been quite a while, decade areas.
Yeah, 2010 is when he made the move down to Australia and seemingly has become part of the furniture here at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex.
I think he started at George Cross and then
potentially.
Short stint at George Cross.
If he, I believe he was on Bentleigh's books in 2010. If not, he was at George Cross. If not, then he might have been in Australia in 2009 and moved to Bentleigh in 2010.
Well, it's certainly been a career laden with NPL and other competition success for Jack Webster, multiple-time champions of NPL Victoria, Doherty Cup winners, several cup runs under the stewardship of Johnny Anastasiadis, and now Nick Tolios. Mustafa trying to add to that proud history on the left, round one, round two. Sends it back to Kim. He feints a shot. Play calms down as Banyule get numbers behind the ball. Carrigan, former Melbourne Victory defender. Sewell on the left. Mustafa's come central. Trying to find a way through. Pierce Waring's offside. Do you feel as though Pierce Waring, as we said, very well credentialed? Of course, Melbourne Victory fans will be familiar with him. I believe he played a few senior games in the ACL, not that many in the A-League men competition under Kevin Muscat, but left Melbourne Victory to sign with Sarazo Osaka in the J-League, Adam Taggart's club as well. Don't think he actually made a senior appearance, but a number of years in their academy. Do you think he's going to take, begin to feel a responsibility to try to force the issue as the game goes on, and his heavily favoured NPL 1 side still finds himself locked at 0-0?
I think most definitely when you're a player like Pierce Waring and, the credentials that you do have and the, I guess, golf and class should show over the course of the 90 minutes at some point, whether it's going to be tight legs in the second half or whether it's going to be just taking that chance. And when you talk about taking chances, probably don't have a better finisher on the pitch than Pierce Waring. So definitely as the game ticks by and if it still remains deadlocked, the pressure will increase on the likes of him to open the deadlock for the Greens.
Zakuda gets absolutely cleaned up there by Webster.
I think if you're Bentleigh, you don't want this game to stay 0-0 the longer the game goes on. Not only because, Banyule then has, if they do take the lead, less time to defend that lead, but just in general, you don't want to create any uneasy tension or nerves throughout the course of the 90 that could come back to haunt you.
And you don't want to give Banyule hope every minute that Banyule keep this game tied. There's another extra percentage of belief in their systems, as that ball is not in. I think it was Muhammad that got the final head on it. Izzy Muhammad.
And Joey, don't take any offence to this, but as much as I like you, I really don't want to go into extra time.
No, it's been a long day for
it has
many individuals that were up in the early hours of the morning to see that fantastic result with the Socceroos through to their 5th straight World Cup. I mean, saw Andrew Redmayne's penalty shootout heroics. I don't imagine we'll be seeing anything similar tonight. Although the magic of the cup dictates that you never say never in any of these formats. Nice bit of skill there from Gage to turn. Carrigan picks the ball out and carries it forward, but then he just doesn't want to keep going. Instead looks to turn sidewise and maybe could have tried to force the issue there, Demir.
Most definitely, as we see, ball played through by Sewell.
Kralicki now looking for a cutback, blocked away. Banyule sees Mitch Hall coming and runs away from him, and now trying to just slide the ball in behind for Roberto Stella. Can't get there.
Roberto Stella, if I'm not mistaken, the younger brother of Francesco Stella. They did play together at the Port Melbourne Sharks a few years back. under Adam Pittock in the NPL.
Port Melbourne, of course, one of the representatives on the national stage in the last NPL, in the last Australia Cup, as that shot comes in from range, but Clark watched it all the way.
So he's giving his teammates a bit of an earful there, Pierce Clark. Not happy with the time and space they gave to Banyule there to create something. I'm going to ask you about Carrigan and Waring. They were both in the victory setup around the same time, around the same age, of course they are as well. Can you think of any recent examples of players that have initially been released from a particular A-League team, whether it's with no A-League appearances or limited A-League experience, that have then done a few years in the NPL, gotten better, and then earned an A-League recall? I guess Jordan Hall might be a good example of someone at Green Gully.
Yeah.
Anyone else that you can think of? Maybe even a young striker?
Well, Danny Kim did spend time in NPL Queensland before being re-signed by Warren Moon, and then coming back to the NPL would be another. You've obviously got somebody in mind that you're teaming me up with for striker.
Honestly, no. I know you credited me as an encyclopedic knowledge of football, but gotta say, I've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning on, I think, about 4 hours sleep. My memory is pretty hazy at the moment.
It's that ball intended for Stella, just sails long. Carrigan out to Sewell on the left. Corey Sewell dances around Daniele's challenge. Tries to get it to Hoare and took a touch, but the Queenslander collects anyway. Banyule having to work against this Bentleigh press, just work it back to goalkeeper Collison in the end, and he'll thump it long in the direction of his attackers, but sent straight back by the Greens. Stauffer, who's moved over to that right flank, orchestrating a switch with Mitch Hoare, but unable to keep it in that situation.
Mitch, the brother of Henry Hoare, who has got himself a nice extension, multi-year extension with the Brisbane Roar after a great debut season at Moreton Bay Stadium. Having played for South Melbourne in 2021. However, he was originally at Lions FC, where him and Warren Moon first encountered. Joey, as someone who's followed NPL Victoria more closely than I have this season, how have you assessed the Bentleigh Greens' performances and their season to date?
Well, speaking with Nick Tolios before this game, he has made reference to the fact that he's often been missing players, both through a combination of injury and illness and COVID and the various other reasons that some players miss at NPL level, work commitments, weddings and the like, and some players even having to miss because of school commitments. Kai Adachi, one that is on a scholarship at Brighton Grammar, I think, so he has to play football for them as well, which somewhat hampers his ability to contribute at an NPL level, but strong side that he has run out tonight. So beginning to get bodies back as they move into the top six of the NPL. One imagines that Tolios would have designs on keeping them there and commencing a rise up the table. But they certainly have the talent to do some damage, especially in one-off finals. Kim on the left, one of the aforementioned talents, dances around one challenge, whips it in. Can't work its way to that back post.
They've definitely been well positioned, the Banyule defence, throughout the course of 36 and a half minutes so far. Like you said, it's a pillar of any Don Barber team.
There's a real wrestling match in there for the ball. Challengers coming in thick and fast. In the end, Gage comes away with it. And Muhammad sends it long. Collected well there by Allstrand. They're now trying to just loop it forward. You know, Stella was in the vicinity.
Had more time there. Had more time there. It's a great kick by Clark.
Sends it to Pierce Waring. Men arriving in the middle. Hoare is one of them. Kim as well. Pierce Waring to the byline. Sends it across. Mustafa was lurking. Important intervention. Mustafa has it. Go anyway! And disaster for Banyule. The down wall breaks. Players going in multiple directions. In the end, it was Mustafa's shot that set it up, and then I think it was Mitch Hoare that arrived with the header on the goal line. Not many simpler efforts there for Hoare to convert, but he did so on that occasion.
Bentleigh Greens, number 13, Mitch Hoare, in 38 minutes. Bentleigh 1, Banyule 0.
Indeed, as the announcer confirms that, it is Hoare with the goal, and the Greens lead 1-0.
Give a lot of credit for that goal to Pierce Clark, who recognised Waring making a run. He was up against one defender, got the ball to him perfectly. Waring did quite well there to get the ball across, found its way to Mustafa. His shot, unluckily for Banyule, off the post and straight into Hoare, who gets the opener tonight. And now it's a real test for Banyule to see what they can muster in attack to counter a response.
Vucic forced to go back to his goalkeeper and then yelling at those in front of him that they were in offside position, so he couldn't send a pass forward. He's going to have to get back now as Mustafa carries it forward on the right wing. Shows the ball to one challenger before dancing away. Strickland's pass is poor. Battle in there eventually leads to a Bentleigh Greens free kick. Taken short, Strickland's. Kralicki. High ball now coming in, headed clear by Muhammad. Stella trying to carry it forward. Kralicki gets in the road. Strickland splays it out to the right for Mustafa. Kim provides the overlap. Heavy touch from Mustafa. Strickland can't contain it. Now, Banyule looking to break quickly in transition once more. Stella was trying to run in behind, but the pass intended to reward that run. He's picked out by Corey Sewell. Mustafa dropping very deep to try to win the ball there, but Kaninda retains possession. Allstrands trying to send it back to his leading man, playing at the tip of the Banyule spear.
Just to answer an earlier question, Joey, when I asked you about any potential strikers who maybe didn't get the opportunities that they perhaps would have liked earlier on in their careers in an A-League setup. Doug did the hard yards in NPL, got another chance in the A-League and have succeeded. Dylan Wenzel-Halls, a pretty good example of someone who initially was a Brisbane Roar, didn't quite make the grade for the first team, scored goals for fun in NPL Queensland, and back he was at the Roar and now an A-League champion with Western United.
There's Daniele carrying the ball forward for Banyule. Is equal top scorer for this side in their Australia Cup run with 3. Him and Kaninda leading that counts. Kirkus with 2, Muhammad with 1, Francis Karkas with 1.
Which of the other round 7 victors either are you most impressed about, or alternatively are you most looking forward to seeing, perhaps at the national stages of the Australia Cup?
I think it's very difficult to go past the Oakley Cannons with the talent that they have assembled. A lot of players with A-League men credentials, or those that have the talent to make the step up. Like of Joe Knowles, who scored a hat-trick in their round 7 win over the Melbourne Knights. A rather unorthodox hat-trick of absolute golazzo, an Olympico and a penalty. Also the likes of Wade Decker, who spent some time on the books of Melbourne City there, and Joe Guest, reigning gold medalist in the NPL Victoria competition. Of course, they are also second on the table as Hall winds up. Shot takes a touch. Avondale, of course, another side that will be familiar to observers of the Australia/FFA Cup, having previously reached the national stages. Loaded up with talent as well. And Heidelberg, well, Heidelberg very well known for some of the upsets they provided. That famous win over Perth Glory in that FFA Cup run, as it was known at the time, also helping to launch the A-League men career of the King, Kenny Athew, who's promptly signed a contract with Melbourne Victory, spending a couple of years at the A-League men Giants before heading across to, well, briefly signed with Bentleigh before getting a contract in Southeast Asia and going great guns in those leagues. There's now Corey Sewell on the left. Ken Kralicki. Webster has some time to wind up. Webster was always heading wide off his boot. Has scored some important goals for the Bentleigh Greens, but
most importantly, perhaps that 2019 grand final goal at Amy Park against Avondale.
Yes. Fantastically called by Chris Gleeson. I think, was he the one that coined Mr. Bentleigh Greens on that call?
I believe so. It was a lot better than previous things I've heard Chuck Webster called as, including, when was it, 2016, when Bentleigh played an FA Cup game in Tasmania, and a certain commentator, who I actually don't know who it was, called him Jack Strawberry Kisses Webster, in reference to Nicky Webster. Showing my age here, Joey.
I'm sure Jack Webster appreciates you bringing that back and reintroducing it to a brand new commentariat and zeitgeist on the Australia Cup and Football Victoria social pages. Waring dropping deep, but can hit them from range, so he gets close down by Stella. Carrigan. Kralicki. Dinks a ball over the top, nodded on by Mitch Hall, but there's nobody making a run behind him, and that will be half-time here at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. So a lot of the ball, a lot of territory for the Bentleigh Greens, but so far only 1 goals to their name to show for it. Demir, are you surprised that they have only been able to find the back of the score sheet once, or is it really just a situation wherein this Banyule defence is really organised and just not allowing them any better options?
I think the Banyule defence has done a pretty good job at neutralising the attacking threat of Bentleigh. At the same time, I think Bentleigh would be a bit disappointed that they haven't tested Collison out more throughout the course of this first half, but we'll see what the second half presents itself. Banyule will be more open chasing the game, and that might in turn lead to more opportunities at the other end for Bentleigh Greens to add to their advantage. But it'll be an interesting second half that we'll have in store.
Indeed. Well, the thoughts of Demir Kulash. Taking us to the half-time break here at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. You'll have the countdown clock for company as we await the commencement of the second stanza, and be sure to join us for what should be an entertaining one. Welcome back, one and all, to Kingston Heath Soccer Complex here in Melbourne's southeast for this Victorian preliminary qualifying round 7 contest in the Australia Cup. It is quite a mouthful, I know, but to cut to the short of it, a spot in the national stages on the line here between the host Bentleigh Greens and the visiting Banyule City. And after 45 minutes of football, almost exactly 45 minutes of football, I only think we got about 20 seconds of added time in the opening stanza. It is the Bentleigh Greens, the NPL 1 side in this contest, with a 1-goal lead. Mitch Hawes' header after Yaqub Mustafa shot careened back into play. The difference between the two sides, Banyule, well, as one might expect, of a State League 1 side, a team from the 4th tier of Victorian football, coming up against a team from the top flight. They have been content to sit back, sit in a low block, and try to deny their hosts easy avenues to goal, whilst surrendering the vast majority of territory and possession, looking to hit on the counter, which they will look to do now. But my name is Joey Lynch, and I'm joined by Demir Kulash once again for the second half. Demir, if you are Coach Don Barber, who leads Banyule City, what would your message in the change rooms at half-time have been, and what are you telling them to do in this second stanza?
Capitalise on your moments. I guess there will be opportunities in the second half where Banyule employ a more adventurous pivot towards goal. It's about worrying Bentleigh when that time comes, and if they do have that time, as we stick with play.
Yeah, Painter Andrews getting down the right, back to Waring, who had dropped to cover the forward run. However, the cross in is picked out by Gage.
Did say in the first half that Gage would be familiar with these surroundings. He did play for the Bentleigh Greens back in, I believe it was 2018 or 2019. So we see Franzikakis on the ball. He himself also has... Sorry, not Franzikakis, it's Kirkus.
Franzikakis playing as the centre-back.
That's right, he himself also has previously been at this ground from a senior capacity. Ex-Oakley Cannon, Melbourne City.
Mustafa driving in and shooting and forcing a strong save from Collison.
That's more of what Nick Tolios would have wanted from his side. Make the keeper work, test him out.
Hawes sends it back in, looking for Waring. Sent clear by the aforementioned Franzikakis. But it results in a corner. Strickland just ambling over to take this one for the Bentleigh Greens. Able to get some bodies in the box. Just 2 players not in the vicinity of the penalty area. Ryan Kirkus for Banyule, marked by Jack Painter Andrews, somewhat close to the halfway line. Corner taken short. Mustafa, he'll float a ball in, headed clear by Mohammed. Sent in the direction of Kirkus for Banyule. Perhaps the break is on. Stella just runs into a challenge from Sewell. Bentleigh come away with it. Themselves in no rush to break in on the goals of Daniel Collison as they knock it about.
Did mention that Banyule have brought in quite a bit of a away contingent of supporters here tonight. One other thing to note about them is that they do have a pretty strong Women's Premier League side as well, who have done quite well this season and feature a number of ex-NPLW players in their ranks. So it is definitely a club that's growing both from a men's and women's standpoint.
Indeed, you talk about the, well, not the drain, but maybe the flow of talent from the NPL down to the state leagues in the men's game, Demir, just as pronounced in the women's game as well. Series of players moving down the tiers in search of, well, various factors in the women's game, but it may be even more pronounced because up until this season there has been no system of promotion to the NPLW, which means that once these players leave that tier, they are lost to the competition. That one's poked through, and trying to get on the end of it was Webster, who ambled his way forward, couldn't get there.
Preston Lions and Southern United,
In the VPLW, yeah.
two other teams that do have, pretty acclaimed teams for that level that feature a number of ex-NPLW talent, Burundara as well. I am missing someone as well.
Well, even in the state leagues, the likes of Maul and Zebras.
Yeah.
Another one.
KC Comets, another team in the VPL who
had a very big win on the weekend. I think it was 9-0 over Whitehorse. So
even Whitehorse United have a few NPLW players.
As that throw-in is sent in the direction of Mustafa. Pressure at his back, but works well enough to ensure that it will be his side that throw the ball back in. And that far side from the broadcast, whipped in, but cross just angling away and going out of bounds for a goal kick. Taken short. Ball at the feet of Akuda. The pressure from Hoare. He just had to send it back to Francis Karkas. Collison puts his boot through it. Decent header from Kirkus to send it into his big number 9. All strands. Back heel from Kirkus. Picked out by the Greens. Maybe a chance in transition now. Hoare was dragged back. And the free kick eventually will come back. Worth a yellow, that's coming out.
Yeah, I was just about to say he'll be lucky to escape a yellow card there for a clear tug back of his opponent, but referee right on the spot to dish out. It's the first yellow of the evening. Yeah, he's had you don't want to say easy game so far, Ross Clark, but he's definitely made it easy himself by calling what needs to be called and being at the right spot at the right time. I always say if you don't really notice the referee, it means that he is doing a good job. And
it has been a game played without a lot of spite, not a lot of hard challenges.
Well, it's two teams that have come to play football.
Different interpretations of football, clearly, but football nonetheless, as Hoare now on the right. Trying to combine there and play a 1-2 with Painter Andrews. Kirkus gotten away, but the Greens will get it back. Hoare falls to Waring. Here's Waring. Blocked away. Sorry, that wasn't Waring, that was Corey Sewell. Was interesting from Ken Kralicki. From about, what are we calling that, 30 yards out, if not more. And he puts it into it's a golf course behind Kingston Heath Soccer Complex, isn't it, Demir?
On that side of the ground, yes, that is correct.
So maybe he's working on his 3-par or something like that.
Although the park next door also does have quite competent and suitable field hockey facilities.
Oh, is that why you were asking me about what type of hockey I was referring to earlier? I see. I thought you were just being cheeky.
No. There's always a purpose.
As Banyule coming forward once again. Kirkus keeps his feet, and that's going to allow him to grab the ball. Banyule trying to get some numbers forward. Akuda sends it back to Muhammad. Francis Karkas. He'll loop a ball forward, but Clark is off his line quickly to claim. And from the other side of the pitch, Daniel Collison yells at his side to maintain the movement. Kim turns. as well. Advancing field position before playing a pass in behind for Mustafa. Can he get a ball in? Yagub Mustafa. Centres to Ken Kralicki. Hoare. Painter Andrews. Back to Hoare. Banyule, numbers behind the ball. Sewell. Mustafa. Has tested Collison once already in this half. Yagub Mustafa.
I'm going to say Bentleigh's attack has been good. Not great tonight, but Mustafa has been one constant spark for them that's given the Banyule defence plenty of problems throughout.
Painter Andrews hustling and bustling to retain possession for his side. Bentley can come again. Webster. 1-2 not rewarded, and now potentially transition is on. Kanindia was trying to reward the overlapping run of Kirkus on the left, blocked out and snuffed out again by Banyule. But that's where their chances are going to come, isn't it, Demir? These in transition. We're not only a 1-goal lead for Bentleigh, and as one would expect from an NPL 1 side, they're not going to sit and defend a 1-goal lead against the State League 1 side. They want to get a few more and put this game to bed, as Avondale are doing in the other Australia Cup game taking place tonight. Hoare whips that one in. You knew where it was going to fall. Kralicki was lurking.
That's against Springbank Stallions, isn't it? Mm. Coached by former Melbourne Knights manager Andrew Marth.
Andrew Stabber-Marth. So Avondale well on top in that game, so maybe not the best round 7 for the Marth family. Jack Marth with the Melbourne Knights, bundled out by the Oakley Cannons, and now Andrew Marth Springbank running into the buzzsaw that is Avondale.
A very talented team at this level, Avondale, including, as always, in attack. They seem to have a number of players that could easily be focal points of attacks at various teams across the league, but they definitely do like to stash them, and that's where you get a lot of their goals from. You know, you think Liam Boland's been a constant source of pain for NPL defences for a number of seasons. Stefan Valentini, Yusuf Ahmed, Joey Katabian, Stefan Zinni, Manny Aguek.
Mustafa trying to get in behind Francis Karkas.
Anyone I've missed there, Joey?
Yazid Said? Did you say him?
No, but he's definitely another one to add to the list. And if you want to also add another playmaker in there, try Chesky.
Sent in by the Greens, headed back by Banyule. Danger not cleared, at least initially. Mitch Hoare. Banyule just put a boot through it. Discretion the better part of valour on that occasion. Looking over at the Bentleigh dugout, there's not a lot of figures at ease just with this 1-goal lead as they come forward once more. Kralicki, high ball in towards the back peg. Mustafa can't bring it down, so it will get all the way out to the left. Waring trying to find an avenue in. In the end, his effort is blocked away by Izzy Muhammad.
Good set-piece opportunity here for Bentleigh. Webster, always a threat.
Will be Waring to take as some of his teammates that are on the bench company. Doing their warm-ups over there. Corner taken short, 1-2. Waring's going to get it back, whip it in. Pierce Waring, well, can hit them, as we've said on a few occasions tonight, but that one straight down the gullet. Daniel Collison.
It's very new terminology for me, gullet.
Learn something every day, Demir. As Banyule's struggling to play this one out. All strands. Sends it to Muhammad in the middle. But his pass to nobody in particular. I guess Gage was in the vicinity, but miscommunication there between the two Banyule players. He's going to allow Bentleigh to carry it forward. Kralicki, round 1, round 2. Sends his shot straight at Collison.
what changes from the bench would you be making if you're Don Barber? Is there anyone who screams out to you that if you're chasing a goal, this is the person to turn to?
At this point, I think just agricultural and basic as it may sound, P&P, pace and power, as it may sound, just speed. Some speed up top. You're obviously, well, your best chances aren't going to come when you are playing through this Bentleigh Green side. It's going to come in transition. So you just want to get somebody that can perhaps just play on the shoulder of Ben Carrigan or Jack Webster and just turn on the jets on a long ball over the top and jag something. I mean, you're a State League 1 side. There's no shame in just trying to jag something on the counter like that. Smash and grab job.
And no expectations on you. I mean, if you're going to lose by, giving it your all and committing numbers forward. So we see Barber get very animated with his team.
And also making the first change, Roberto Stella making way for Eltham Amiri. Well, we were talking about the location that Banyule are in the first half of the mirror. Now they bring on a player named after one of the suburbs in that vicinity. Sliding challenge coming in from Luke Okuda.
All I can think about is that meme. Dad, why is my name Elf? You don't have any insights into the origin of his name, no? If he is named after the suburb? I would doubt it as well. Does seem like a pretty cool name.
It's Gage. Doesn't give away a penalty. Now ball in behind. Is this two? Off the post! Thomas Strickland absolutely thought that he had doubled his side's advantage there. He was wheeling away in celebration, only to look back and see it bounce off that upright.
If you're Banyule, you have to take confidence from those. If they're not going in, keeps you in the game for a little bit longer.
Perhaps a sign the footballing gods are on your side.
Potentially, and, talk of footballing gods on a day when they were well and truly on Australia's side. Maybe Don Barber can invoke the spirit of Graham Arnold and inspire his men in the second half here, but at the moment it does seem like a pretty tall order. Greens have most of the ball this half, most of the chances, and look quite comfortable. Despite the 1-0 scoreline. I mean, you're probably surprised that it's not a bit more as we see.
There's Ryan Kirkus going down with what looks to be cramp, or well, he's holding his left shin. Could be an Achilles cramp.
You hope it's cramp. There's no teammates in the vicinity to give him automatic stretch of that leg.
Referee Ross Clark blows a halt to proceedings and allows the trainer to come on. I don't think Banyule were preparing a sub. Lars Anton Kaninda has just gone over to get a drink of water and perhaps some instructions from Don Barber. Of course, if you are a State League 1 side, you did talk about no expectations on them in this game, Demir, but you don't want to get injuries in a game like this.
And derail your State League 1 season.
Yeah, they are third in State League 1 Northwest at the moment. 7 wins on the campaign. Got a win on the weekend after 2 straight losses against the top 2 sides in the division. So, if memory recalls, they beat Strathmore, split, Brendan Shantalabs.
3-2.
Yeah. Side. So, coming in with a bit of form in this one.
I did note was that Angelo Svalina, who played for Melbourne Knights in 2018, Croatian import, also plays for Strathmore, as well as a few other former Melbourne Knights and St Albans Saints players. Surprised to see them struggling, but they do have a recently appointed Mickey Chelina, who has taken the reins there. In terms of the top 2 teams in State League 1 Northwest,
Georgie's is one, I believe, coming through as we'll follow the action here briefly as Mustafa. Well, referee Ross Clark's helping out with the marking as well there. Doesn't result in a turnover. Kralicki got the ball out in the left. Now Daddy Kim winds up. Daddy Kim over the bar.
I mean, in general, that would be a very strong league. You'd also have a team like Sydenham Park, which has been, a regular in that division for quite some time and does
Sydenham
themselves
has made a few headlines in the Australia Cup in the past.
Yeah, and have NPL aspirations themselves. We'll see another team who were also comprehensively beaten last week against Green Gully in this very same competition, in a game that featured 4 sending-offs.
That one was played with a bit of spite.
Most definitely.
No doubt referee Ross Clark very happy that this game hasn't descended into those depths yet. I say yes. we hope it doesn't descend into them at all.
Looks very unlikely at this stage.
Francis Karkas gets closed down by Hoare, but he sends it forward in the direction of Gage. Banyule can't build. Waring sends it back to Kralicki. Ken Kralicki puts his foot on the ball, invites Ulstrand to come in before splaying it out to his captain, Webster. Cries of man on for Kralicki as he advances play to Painter Andrews. Jack Painter Andrews outside of the book. Webster's forward. Webster's shooting. Webster's had his effort blocked by Muhammad, and then Painter Andrews Mustafa. Well,
we're both semi-hoping for a viral moment there. If Mustafa made the right connection, directed it towards goal and past Collison, would have definitely been a goal that would have made headlines across the country.
As we see Banyule preparing to make a couple of changes, I'll rely on you to relay those, Demir, as they come on, as I try to find where the ball has gone. In the hands of Collison.
So Michael Papoutsis has come on for Tom Danieli. And the other player who's come on is
Mugaku Mbota.
Correct.
Muginga Mbota. Muginga Mbota has gone to the tip of the Banyule spear there, getting a touch, wearing number 26. A late addition to the team sheet for Banyule.
Well, no better time to make yourself a hero.
You can see him close to our camera position, Demir, on this right flank. Ball makes its way to Carrigan. Strickland trying to slide it through for Waring. No doing. Collison sends it in the other direction. Kaninda is frustrated. Andrew Andrews made a run, but Mbota was following him, so instead the Greens are forced to recycle. Kim.
Kim's had a very controlled and industrious game in the centre of the park, has barely put a foot wrong.
Greens working out there on the left again. Lucas Derrick, who's also come on as a substitution, trying to use that blazing speed that he has.
And if there's one player that you really want to see do well and see the best of, it's definitely Lucas Derrick, who's had a bit of a torrid time with injury in recent years. Said
multiple ACLs.
Yeah, just really rough luck for the former Australian under-17s international. He was part of that Joey's team that participated at the 2015 FIFA under-17s World Cup in Chile from memory.
COE graduate before the program was closed, one of the last players to come out of the AIS. Just one of a number of players that have since found themselves in the NPL that were in that Melbourne system that just were somewhat unfortunate to be part of an academy that had some of the most, well, one of the most impressive stockpiles of talent this country has really seen in quite a long time. He was, as a winger, working against the likes of Daniel Arzani and Rami Najjarine and Josh Cavallo and Mooney Najjar.
Because that was at City. Initially, he was at Victory,
yes.
And even at Victory, there was the likes of George Howard and John McLean, who were also competing for the same places as
Pierce
he
Waring
was.
as well.
Yeah. Kieran Dover, Joey Katabian. It was quite a formidable front line, and Derek definitely played his part in that 2015 championship season for Melbourne Victory Youth and NPL 2, where they didn't really look like dropping the league up until the latter stages of the season, where they started experimenting a bit more. They had a few players who started the season with the team who got elevated into the senior setup, guys like Tommy Deng and Stefan Negro.
There's Painter Andrews,
who of course have gone on to, bigger and better things. Both won A-League championships with Victory. Tommy Deng found himself playing in Japan and capped by the Socceroos. Steph's back at Victory, obviously, but it's a lot of sliding doors moments.
Is that ball, Derek? 2-0. Lucas Derrick off the bench onto the score sheet.
And we were just talking about him. We wanted to see him do well, and he's made the perfect introduction into this game by adding a second. Well-timed finish. It was a great run from Derek. Quite synonymous with making those types of runs over the seasons. And he's given Nick Tolios' men, you'd say, a commandable lead that Banyule will have a mountain to climb if they want to get themselves back into this game and force extra time.
Indeed, given the dynamics of the game that we have seen thus far, one would imagine that a 2-0 lead, albeit... Oh, hello. All right, I'll start again. One would imagine that the nature and the dynamics of this game that we have seen thus far, a 2-0 lead, it is sometimes called the most dangerous scoreline in football, but tonight it is perhaps unassailable. As Bentleigh come forward again, Ken Krolicki. Twisting and turning. Eventually he's just forced to go backwards. Waring. Switch of play. Webster has some time and space to decide what he wants to do. Playing a 1-2 with Hoare, but Webster's pass for the Queenslander doesn't come off. Banyule looking to break quickly. Danny Kim trying to get in the way. Not successful, but then subsequent pass isn't good, though. It's trying to spring Botta into space in behind the Greens lines. Just doesn't come off. Now the Greens just passing around this Banyule press with ease.
And they haven't, called it in. They're definitely searching for a third to make themselves even more comfortable.
Here's Waring looking for the cutback. Maybe a bit too casual with that one. If he'd put a bit more mustard on it, Mitch Hoare was in about a mile of space in the penalty area. Just picked out before he could get there.
And a very good chance to add to the score sheet, not just team-wise, but personally as well.
Potter, substitute, is forced to go backwards. Gage. Allstrands, he sends it out to the right and then bring it back inside is Banyule, but wayward pass. Now can Hoare break down the right into a bit of space. Mitch Hoare, there's Pierce Waring in front of him, he's round one man. Sends this to Kim. To Derek on the left. Lucas Derrick, 1 goal to his name already tonight. Back to Krolicki. Just a shade over 15 minutes remaining in this contest. Webster. Painter Andrews. Waring. Webster makes the run. It's ignored. Oh, Tech is there from Pierce Waring before he's hacked down.
One of the easiest decisions of the night for the referee.
Makuta and Papoutsis were just swarming around him. As we see the Greens preparing to make another substitution. It will be Waring departing, replaced by Ajak Reich. Another West Australian coming onto the pitch. Spent time in NPLWA, signed from Inglewood United, Ajak Reich. Now will replace Pierce Waring with 15 minutes remaining, and he's side leading 2-0. What have you made of Pierce Waring tonight, Demir?
He's looked good. He's had his moments. Obviously, he was pivotal in the lead-up to the opener when he latched onto Clark's long kick-out. But, yeah, probably could have had himself a goal as well.
There's Krylicki's free kick, headed clear. Strickland's. Krylicki can have another go. A bit wider. High floated ball. Comes back in. Hoare! Won't count. Yeah, referee Ross Clark had found an infringement in the build-up. Ball wins it, sends it to Kim. Strickland. Carrigan. Painter Andrews. Look at Reich. He's nice turn there from the sub, but charged down. Hoare's still there. Hoare looking for a brace. Fantastic save from Collison, and then Ajak Reich in his eagerness to get the ball will give away a free kick.
Reich definitely making a presence of himself, but a great double save there from Collison. Of course, he is a goalkeeper. He doesn't want a scoreline to be added on.
Gage bundles over Thomas Strickland and gives away the free kick. Strickland's looks a little bit worse for wear for the attention.
I think Bentleigh's about to make another sub, at least one, maybe two. Yep, here we go.
As we await the board to come up, looks like the subs will come on before the free kick is taken. So it will be Macheo Jones, one of the two, coming on.
And he'll be going on for the goal scorer of the first goal, Mitch Hoare.
And the other player coming on, Jacob Alexander, replacing Ken Krylicki.
Safe to call him a veteran now, Jacob Alexander. I think he is in his early 30s. Did have a trial back in, I believe it was 2017 with the Brisbane Roar, when he was quite pivotal for the Greens in their FA Cup run that season, when I believe they were defeated by the Western Sydney Wanderers. So what was it, 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018, the Greens caused some damage in this competition.
They've been very regular contributors to the rounds of 32 and beyond. There's Derek! Collison forced to get down to his right and make the save. Lucas Derrick wanting his brace.
Yeah, he's looked great since coming off the bench. Even if you take the goal aside, he's definitely likes to cause havoc when he's on the ball. And I guess if you're Nick Tolios, you're just hoping you get the best of Lucas Derrick as the season draws to its necessary conclusion, with more high-stakes games coming up in the weeks to come for the Greens. And if you can have a fit and healthy Lucas Derrick, you've got one great player.
Well, here he is now, Lucas Derrick! What a strike, Lucas Derrick! The former Joey, the former victory man, now the Greens goal scorer.
Lucas Derrick in the 79th minute. It is Britain's Greens 3, Banyule City 0.
What's the opposite of a commentator's curse, Joey?
Commentator's blessing, mayhaps?
Well, we've spoken highly of him in the lead-up to both his goals. I think if you're Banyule City, you'd want us to stop.
Well, Tolios might want to get you on retainer, Demir. Pump up his players and they immediately score.
It's a great strike. We saw him test Collison maybe a minute or so beforehand with a similar drive from range.
Now Banyule trying to get something going. Okuda sends it out to the left, all strands. But then the resulting pass forward. Bota can't keep it in.
Stephen Pace on the bench. Player coach capacity.
Well,
has he got a coaching role with the club?
Couldn't tell you. To be honest, Demir, I must admit that betwixt the Socceroos and the NPL, State League 1 sometimes escapes my eye as Reich. Whoa!
That's a clear yellow card.
Well, Bentleigh fans appealing for a red, Demir. Do they have a case?
I think that there was enough defenders. I think there was a couple of defenders there from Banyule City that would have put a bit of pressure on Roke had he gotten past.
It's Vucic.
Who...
Well, walk us through the rule there. So what is the rule? What is referee Ross Clark taking into account when he's flashing that yellow card rather than red or rather than nothing?
I guess, the key question to ask is what would have happened had the player not been infringed upon, i.e. fouled in that instance. Would he have had a direct opportunity, a goal-scoring opportunity, one-on-one v. Collison? What proximity to the ball and to Roke were other Banyule defenders in that instance, and whether they could have done something to prevent the Bentleigh marksman from having a clear goal-scoring opportunity, if you deem it to be a clear goal-scoring opportunity. And I guess the other thing to also keep in mind is, what is the severity of the foul? I mean, it's clearly one of those ones where he's got no intentions of getting the ball, but to take out the man. Some referees might view those cards as being orange cards. Not quite a red. Maybe a bit too much for a yellow, but you still give it as a yellow. I think in the context of, proceedings, a yellow card is a fair call, and from our vantage point, there's definitely enough doubt there as to whether Roke would have gotten a clear goal-scoring opportunity.
As Alexander whips it in, it's nodded onwards, straight into the mitts of Daniel Collison. Just about 8 minutes remaining here at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. The hosts with a 3-0 lead look to be pretty much comfortably on their way back to the national stages of the Australia Cup. Lucas Derrick's second half brace, somewhat removing all doubt as Jones gets across to take this throw in. Frustrating Amiri's efforts to try to get things going for Eltham. Kim, back to his captain, Webster. Jones, up the touchline. Rake, who's recovered from his knock before, and now Bentleigh breaking forward in numbers. Look at Derrick on a hat-trick, rolls behind him. Gage finds Mohammed. His effort charged down by Jacob Alexander, but will be a Banyule throw-in.
Interesting that Banyule player Hardis Vucic has exactly the same name as current Zaragoza midfielder and Slovenian international Hardis Vucic as well, who I swear he used to be at Newcastle United for what seemed like forever without really getting much considerable game time, got shipped out on loan, was always one of those players that had high potential, whether it was on FIFA or Football Manager. As we see Derek have the ball again. What can you do this time, Joey?
Well, it's a cheeky back heel to Alexander. High ball in, right. Well, you can see he's keen. Going up for that one. Infringing upon Collison in doing so, however. The referees inevitably have that added layer of protection from the referees, so it's a free kick for Banyule. Potter can't get things going for his side, loses it. But Muginga and Potter making a nuisance of himself for Banyule since coming on.
It's a very thankless task, but one which is rewarding when it works, when you are a marksman who's coming on with a 1-0 deficit chasing the game. Guess he wasn't in the game for too long before Derek made it 2, and as we've seen since, Bentleigh have only extended their lead through Derek again.
Now here's that man on the ball. Lucas Derrick tries a fancy little pirouette move to get past Mohammed, but he was having none of it.
In terms of the class of 2015 from the Joeys, was Daniel Arzani...
Daniel Arzani was part of that team.
Joe Coletti, another one?
I think so. So, it was the last Joeys team to play in an under-17 World Cup before Trevor Morgan took a new cohort to the tournament in Brazil a few years ago. Perhaps Ryan Teague, the most notable name to yet emerge from that Joey side.
Noah Botic, another one who was part of that team.
Botic now signed with Western United. Teague playing in Portugal, I believe.
Yeah, and Pavlicic from Sydney was the goalkeeper.
Indeed he was. Recently signed a new contract with the Sky Blues. Working there behind Andrew Redmayne and Tommy Hewitt-Bell.
National hero, Andrew Redmayne, might I add.
Grey Wiggle, Andrew Redmayne.
What a moment. I mean, it's...
Wow, what a moment.
Wow, what a game, guys.
Sent back in by Banyule. Less than 5 minutes of regulation remaining now. Mohammed, closed down by Alexander. Coughs it up. Painter Andrews. Spins. Sends it to Reich. Derek points where he wants it. Gets ignored. Ball eventually comes back out to Webster. Derek wanted a cheeky flick on. Didn't come off. Carrigan steals the ball away. Banyule's pass forward intended for Kaninda.
Here's a question for you. 2 other notable names from that under-17s team in Chile in 2015 have been very prominent lately.
Rolls.
Yep, and one more.
Not Conor Metcalf. Denny Genre?
Not Socceroos prominent, but prominent nonetheless.
Rami Najari?
No.
Well, I'll get you to tell me after this attack. Bentleigh looking for their 4th goal of the game if they can find an avenue in. Denny Kim loses the ball instead. Bentleigh take it straight back.
Okay. If
Jacob Alexander shot blocked away. Okay, yes. Let me in the audience know to me who's the other name.
I reckon this clue will give it away. So if he didn't have a cabinet for all his medals, he does now.
Hey. It's too cold and I've been up for too long for
Jake Brimmer.
There we go, Jake Brimmer. No doubt a few Victory fans of the stream would argue he should be, in fact, a Socceroo at this point. It's Lucas Derrick, well, just dragged around there.
You know, that role for the Socceroos is quite heavily contested. I mean, they should, I think, be happy with D'Agostino and Davidson.
Albeit neither of them did feature this morning. Mitch Duke,
well,
given the nod to lead the line over, and then Jamie McLaren subbed on as the striker, and Jason Davidson with a hamstring injury.
I have been a member of the Ben Gurucha hype train, and I thought he was a bit unlucky not to get named that squad over Jason Davidson. I think he had a better season overall, but, you know, Davidson was good as well, and, you know, he does play for a team like Victory, and when you are playing well for a team like Victory, you definitely hear a lot of noise about how well you're playing.
Playing for a coach that was getting a lot of noise about potentially taking over as the next Socceroos boss when Graham Arnold's tenure ended, which we now know will come after the 2022 World Cup. Now, just less than 1 minute of regulation remaining. Bentleigh still looking for a 4th. It would pretty much just be window dressing at this point. Their progression to the round of 32, we can now safely say, is assured. Just a matter of winding down the clock.
And that's a yellow card offence, and Danny Kim will rightly go into the book for that one. A very agricultural challenge.
Probably not needed at this late stage as well.
Yeah, you're up 3-0. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is Banyule go up the other end, take advantage of the fact that Bentleigh don't have enough numbers back and create a goal-scoring opportunity, which may or may not result in a goal.
Consolation goal.
Exactly. But then again, unless there's strict rules regarding the accumulation of yellows.
Jack right now sends it central. Painter Andrews lays it off. Well, cheeky outside of the boot. Effort falls again, and Collison. This game could easily have been much more of a blowout than it is had it not been for the work of Daniel Collison in the Banyule goal.
Very David De Gea-like with his reflexes there with his legs.
Very high praise there.
No, David De Gea's stock has fallen in recent years.
But he's the starting goalkeeper for Man United.
Comparing him to a state League One goalkeeper, it's take that Collison would be quite happy with that comparison.
There's now his side trying to get something going. Paputsa sends it back to Francis Karkas. Collison sends it somewhat long. Goes over the head of Sewell. Carrigan nods it back. Gage sends it out to Mohammed on the right. Those two have combined quite a lot tonight. Ball is going to fall through now. Potter, chance to break down the right. Can he look up and find a teammate in the middle before he swarms? No, he can't. 3 Bentleigh players converged on him, and eventually the weight of numbers wins out.
Joey, let me ask you a question that I often contemplate during numerous weekends, particularly this season. You've got a game 3-0, and if you're a referee, a knockout game like this, do you play extra time?
Depends if it's being assessed or not.
It's a very smart answer.
Clark, ball at his feet, sends it along the turf. Maybe time for one last Bentleigh attack. High ball, Reich was trying to time his run. It's going to fall for it. Painter Andrews. Can he put the bow on it? Painter Andrews. Nostalgic right. Can he put the cherry on the sundae? No. One final chance in this Australia Cup for Daniel Collison to show his wares. It's 3-0, but not for lack of trying from the Banyule custodian.
Very sharp save there from Collison. Any international world-class goalkeepers you want to compare that save to?
Not really. Maybe Jamie Young?
I thought it was a Courtois-like save.
Courtois-like. As here we go. Bentleigh Greens. Corner kick now. Pretty much just killing time until the final whistle comes. And we can officially declare them through. Collison can't control the corner on first time of asking. Banyule poke it away. Can they break quickly and blot their foe's copybook? No, Alexander comes away with it. All eyes now on referee Ross Clark.
I did want to ask you, Banyule, nicknamed the Bulls?
Well, their logo's a bull, so I would assume it.
Yeah.
And there is the final whistle. Australia say hello to the Bentleigh Greens. They are coming once again to a national stage of the Australia Cup near you. At this point, it has to be expected. The side from Melbourne's southeast, the side from Kingston Heath Soccer Complex, will once again be representing Victorian football against the best of the best that Australia's NPLs and A-League men has to offer. They defeat the Banyule Bulls, as we were saying. Banyule City 3-0 in the end. Lucas Derrick with a brace after Mitch Hoare put them ahead 1-0.
Kingston League tonight, we got team home side Bentleigh Greens 3, Banyule City 0, and just a reminder, the next home game for Bentleigh Greens, 24th of June, home in Scrim City at 8:30.
Couldn't have said it better myself as the ground announcer rings out the final word here at Kingston Heath. Demir, what did you make of that contest?
As expected, I think that would be a fair observation of the game. You know, when you've got a significant golfing class and quality between the two teams, you always want to see a competitive fixture, and rarely do you see one. And I got to say, for the first half, Banyule definitely made one of it. Ultimately, you know, it wasn't enough in the second half. The individual quality of a few Bentleigh players, namely the substitute Lucas Derrick, Sean and Bentleigh, a quite convincing 3-0 victory at the end. That could have been added had it not been for a few great saves towards the conclusion of that game by Collison, but a well-deserved win for Bentleigh Greens as they accept a round of applause from their supporters and give one back themselves. It's definitely great to see them back into the national round, and I'm sure they will have expectations from themselves that no matter who they draw, whether it's an A-League team or whether it's an NPL team, that they'll put a good effort in and win.
Well, the words of Demir Kulish there, seeing us out from Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. Another triumphant night for the Bentleigh Greens in their Australia Cup history. They will play on the national stages, as well as look to use the momentum from this cup run in an assault on the finals places in NPL Men's Victoria throughout the rest of the campaign. I'd like to thank you for joining us for tonight's game across the Australia Cup and Football Victoria's social media channels. Be sure that if you don't already, you get yourself an account on npl.tv so you can follow along with the Bentleigh Green season.
And get some sleep in, guys.
Indeed, indeed. If you have been up since the early hours of the morning watching the Socceroos, it's time to hit the hay and relax after a great day for Australian football. Great day for the Socceroos, great day for Andrew Redmayne, great day for the Bentleigh Greens.
Great day for Lucas Derrick.
Great day for Lucas Derrick indeed. That was Demir Kulash. My name has been Joey Lynch. Thank you ever so much for joining us.